Been thinking a lot about the life of Joseph recently, the great figure in the Old Testament, and what a life he had. Trafficked by his own family, sold into slavery, wrongfully arrested and imprisoned. He's able to interpret dreams. I mean, the things that happen in his life's incredible. He gets out of prison because of his skills interpreting dreams that God has given him. And he ends up being kind of like Prime Minister of Egypt, second only in command to Pharaoh. And through his wisdom in dealing with a famine in that region, Egypt has food when many of the nations around them didn't. And because of that, he even gets to help out his own family as his father and his brothers move down into Egypt to get food. I mean, just such a life of highs and lows. But a friend of mine drew my attention to something right at the start of Joseph's life, something that I'd never really noticed before. It's the role played by an unknown man at the very start of Joseph's life. We find it in Genesis 37. Joseph's just had a dream and he's told it to his brothers, and they're a bit peed off because of the content of that dream. They go off to look after their father's flocks, and Dad sends Joseph to go and meet them. And in Genesis 37, verse 14, this is what we read. When Joseph arrived at Shechem, a man found him wandering in the fields and asked him, "What are you looking for?" He replied, "I'm looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where they are grazing their flocks?" "They have moved on from here," the man answered. "I heard them say, 'Let's go to Dothan.'" So Joseph went after his brothers and found them near Dothan. It seems like a small, kind of insignificant detail, but actually, here we have Joseph wandering around the fields, lost. And this unknown man simply says, "What are you looking for?" And then he's able to give him direction and to guide Joseph to the place where his brothers were. We don't know who this man was, but however small the role he played seems, it's actually really significant under the sovereign plan of God. Because of this question asked by this man and the direction that he gives, Joseph then goes to meet up with his brothers. And it's then that he gets sold by them into slavery, and the ball starts rolling on the highs and lows of this incredible life that Joseph had. And an unknown man who did what seemed to be a small, simple thing has played a really significant part in that, under the sovereign hand of God. "What are you looking for?" he asked. And then he directed Joseph. Kind of reminded me of a quote that I read a while back by a man called William Quayle. He said, "Some man or woman stands on everybody's road to God." And it reminded me a bit about the role that this unknown man played here in directing Joseph. The quote makes it sound a bit like we're all signposts, really, either pointing people towards God, giving no information at all, or even pointing people away from God. And so I guess my challenge for you this week, this month, this year, is to be a signpost for God, pointing people towards God. No matter how small it may seem, whether it's a question that we ask, a bit of direction that we give, a small act of kindness, no matter how small it may seem, just like the role played by this man in Joseph's life, it could be a really significant moment under the sovereign plan of God. Let's be signposts for God, pointing people towards our Heavenly Father.